Yo, what's up guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video. This week we're going back to London. We're going to be doing UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. Pretty interesting card all the way through. I would say it's one of the weaker cards that we've seen recently over in the UK, but they've got some nice fights, and we're coming off a good week last week for sure. One of the best betting weeks of the year where we hit on pretty much every bet that we made. We made almost 10 units on the night. So we've been really doing well on bets lately on patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. So if you want access to those bets, you know where to go. I already have quite a few bets for this card. And outside of that, man, if you're listening right now, hit that like button. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video. I'd really appreciate if we could get to 100 likes. And put some comments down below. Let's get some interaction. Let's see which fights you agree on in terms of my predictions and which you disagree on. But let's get in this first fight of the night here. We got Jafel Filho taking on Daniel Barez, and this is a fight in the flyweight division. It's a good matchup. Both these guys are relatively new to the UFC scene, but they're still pretty high level. With Filho, we saw him debut recently against Muhammad Mokaev, and he ended up losing that fight. He almost submitted him with that knee bar in the third round, but gassed himself out going for the finish and then ended up getting submitted himself. And for Daniel Barez, he's making his UFC debut here, but we've seen him on the Contender Series lose a close decision to Carlos Hernandez. And he's a little bit older. He's almost 35 years old, especially for flyweight. That's getting up there. But the guy has kind of taken a step down in competition since the Contender Series fight, and he's handled business. They haven't been the best fighters, but he's finished them all in the first round. So he's getting this opportunity to fight in the UFC now that they're in Europe. And he's coming out of Spain. We got Filho fighting out of Brazil. So it's going to be a fiery contest in there. And both these guys like to get after it. They're pretty fun to watch too. When you see Jafel Filho's style, he is a guy that's very fast, and he mainly likes to work that 3-2. He does have good in and out movement. Like, he does a good job of not staying in the pocket and not sitting where he's going to be super hittable. His defense is pretty on point, and he's a big guy for the weight, and he's very fast. So a lot of the times, fighters are kind of hesitant to pressure him because he could take them down. So Filho could control the pace of the fight, back people up, and he's really good at working that 3-2 and eventually either landing that big left hook or kind of just outworking guys with numbers. He stays active, and he throws with a lot of power. He'll mix in some kicks too, but his kicks are okay. They just aren't that set up. They aren't that great overall. And when you see in terms of his wrestling, I would say his wrestling is average. He tends to be willing to strike, but when fighters pressure him and try to make it more of a war, that's when he'll mix it up, look to level change. And he's good at working the double and then circling to the back and in slams. He seems pretty strong, and then once he can get to that back position, he's good at backpacking you, getting that body triangle in, and then just either submitting you or riding out the position until the end of the round. And he has good enough cardio to do that for 3 rounds. So Filho, he's a pretty good fighter overall, but he isn't the best when you can pressure him and you could defend the takedowns. You could start landing on him and getting to him. And then also, I do believe that his leg kick defense isn't the greatest, which Daniel Barez has very nice kicks. So I think that could potentially be an issue for Filho, and he needs to be a little bit more diligent checking kicks in this particular matchup. But when we go over to the Daniel Barez side, he's a fast starter. He's a guy that pushes the pace, and he's extremely fast and very sharp on the feet like Filho. I would say he's a bit of a better striker. He does a good job of stays very tall. Like, he stands very tall so he can move in and out, but he's good at defending takedowns even with that stance, and he throws real nice kicks to all parts of the body, heavy leg kicks, and he has power with his 1-2s. Sometimes he can kind of like not really work in a range the best. Like, he can throw shots from out of position and get countered, and guys that stick and move and could really use their footwork can be effective against Barez. But I feel like this particular matchup, it's a good matchup for Barez because both these guys tend to like to be the person leading the dance, being in the middle of the cage. And I feel like Barez is a little bit cleaner, a little bit faster with his hands, has better boxing, and I think that his kicks, especially the leg kicks, could pay dividends for him. And when we're looking in terms of the grappling and wrestling for Barez, I would say his takedown defense is something that's going to be an issue in this fight potentially. He could get doubled or allow Filho to work his way to the back and just lose off control time. That's why this fight's close, because I do think that his takedown defense needs a lot of work, but he does have very good grappling. He's active off his back. He's hard to hold down, and when he gets on top, he'll go for submissions as well, and he has quite a few. Sometimes he'll give up position for the submission, but his activity in the grappling is there for sure, and he does push a pace. He has great cardio, even being a little bit older. And it's a tough one because, like I said, I do think that potentially Filho could get him down and hold him down for 2 out of 3 rounds or 3 out of 3 rounds. I don't necessarily think Filho can submit him or finish him on the ground, but I think he could control him if he can get him down potentially. But I'm going to say Barez wins this one 29-28 in a competitive fight. I could see Filho coming out early, using his speed, landing some, eventually hitting the takedown and baking that round. But I think second and third, Barez will be a little bit sharper and a little bit better condition because Filo's going to be going for the takedowns. I think Barez might stuff a couple and then start to take over. And I'm going to go with Barez by decision in this one. But close fight, I think it could go either way, to be honest. And in terms of value, it's like a pick'em odds. I agree with that. I don't really see a lot of value in this fight. I think that it's a pass for me, honestly.